So as we're getting closer to the end of the year, I'm going to be going through a couple of films that I either haven't talked about on the channel or seen just yet. The first on the list is going to be Drive Away Dolls. The film tells the story of two friends looking for a fresh start in Tallahassee. However, that goes a little bit sideways when they find a suitcase in the trunk of their car, and now two criminals are after them. The film is directed by Ethan Coen, one of the Coen brothers, and this film was supposed to come out last year, but it got pushed to the beginning of the year because of the strikes, and it didn't get the best word of mouth. Some people calling it the worst film of the year, some people calling it a hot mess. So I decided to go ahead and check it out to see if it truly is that bad, or if it's just going to end up being one of my guilty pleasures. Now, the film stars Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan, and these two are the biggest compliment that I can give this movie because they clock into work. They have such wonderful chemistry with one another that you really do buy these two being friends for a while, even though they are two completely different characters. You have Margaret Qualley, who is more of the sexually active and sexually free character, and then you have Geraldine Viswanathan, who is a little bit more of the shy and reserved character.
I am not Justin. I'm asking which of these women you want to throw up against the wall and fuck like there's no tomorrow.
Look, Jamie, I'm not a throw up against the wall and fuck the daylights out of kind of person. Stop trying to make me something I'm not.
I'm just trying to get you laid, sugar sweet. They sense it. Whether you want to fuck them or you think they're just fine.
And I think the chemistry that these two share on screen is there from beginning to end, because the one thing that this movie needed to work is a relationship between these two, and boy do they have wonderful chemistry with one another. You do buy them as friends and you do buy their characters. It takes a little while for you to get used to them because at first Margaret Qualley's character comes a little bit more unlikable. She cheats on her girlfriend and she kind of doesn't have a lot of remorse to her actions, so it takes a little while for you to grow to like this character. But even with her Texan accent, I really enjoyed their performances here and there, and I really enjoyed the banter that these two had on this little road trip. Once we get into the road trip aspect of the film, that is where it all falls apart, because not only do you have these two on screen, but you also have Coleman Domingo, and he clocks into work just like these two. He is fantastic whenever he is on screen. The problem with his character is the fact that they don't really give him much to do. He is there just to track these two girls and give his goons directions on where to go, and they don't utilize him as much as they possibly could have. And that goes into the biggest problem that I have with this movie, is the fact that you have these two goons trying to track down Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan, and they are just over the top cartoony that it's really hard to get on board with these two goons because they have no chemistry whatsoever, and the comedy in this movie feels so forced. It just felt like they didn't really know what to do with this road trip movie because they are throwing so much at the wall and none of it is sticking. At one point, we are having an orgy with a couple of soccer players, and other times we're bouncing back to the goons trying to find these two girls, and it just didn't work whatsoever. And that is the biggest sin that this movie really commits, is the fact that this movie is just not that funny. There were a couple of times when it got a chuckle or two out of me, but overall, this movie just fell flat, not just as a road trip movie, but it fell flat as a comedy. None of the comedy in this movie felt earned. There was nothing in here that made me laugh out loud, or was really nothing that really stuck out to me. And that's the biggest sin that this movie creates, especially when we're throwing a couple of psychedelic images in here. It just felt so random, and that's exactly what this movie is. It just felt like a concept for a movie, and they just didn't really know exactly how to take this road trip movie and make it a little bit more engaging, a little bit more entertaining, and a little bit more funny. Plus, it felt like a lot of the raunchiness in here just felt like they threw in the raunchiness for the sake of wanting to be a little bit more raunchy. I like what they were trying to go for, and I do like that there were some things here and there that I was able to gravitate to and really enjoy. But aside from the two leads, there's nothing that made this movie entertaining or engaging from beginning to end, because it just felt like a lot of random things here and there, and I have no idea what this movie was supposed to be. So overall, this movie is just a somewhat of an enjoyable mess, but it just didn't work for me. It's not one that I'm going to be going back to anytime soon, and it's definitely not one that I would recommend to, unless you are looking for something to do on a rainy day, or as the winter is coming up, on a snowy day. Then this might be one that you want to have in the background while you're cleaning, cooking, doing something else other than watching this movie. But overall, is it really as bad as everybody says? It's somewhere in the middle. I enjoyed aspects about this movie, but I don't know if it's going to end up being one of my worst films of the year. It might. I just have to revisit that list. But those are my thoughts on Drive Away Dolls. Have you guys checked it out? Is this a movie that you absolutely hate, or is this a guilty pleasure of yours? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.